Kyle Richards discussed the future of her and Mauricio Umansky's Encino home during the RHOBH after show. Are Kyle Richards and Mauricio selling their house amid split? As Kyle Richards and Mauricio Umansky continue to navigate their separation, they have started discussing what will happen to their shared real estate. During the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills after show episode above, Kyle opened up about a difficult conversation she had with Mauricio during season 14, episode 10 of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. At the time, she touched on how difficult it was to live in their former family home without her estranged husband. Now, she has an update on where they stand and what they've since talked about doing with the space. We still have not filed for divorce or anything, but we have had more conversations about what should we do? Should I still live where I'm living? Should we sell the house and each go buy 2 new homes? Or do we keep the house because it is such a special property and just each go our different ways? She explained in the video above. We're discussing those things now, which we did not before. The good news? At the same time they're having these conversations, they're still getting along and consider each other good friends. I don't think that there is a blueprint for exactly how this has to be done. I don't know, and I find myself being oddly protective and defensive of him, because people want to say bad things about him thinking it would make me happy, she added. I'm like, you don't know how we work. We're good. How many homes do Kyle Richards and Mauricio Umansky own together? Kyle and Mauricio own 3 houses together. Their family home in Encino, a vacation home in La Quinta, and a vacation home in Aspen. In May 2024, Kyle confirmed that Mauricio moved out of their Encino home and is now renting an apartment. What is Kyle Richards and Mauricio Umansky's relationship like today? During the after show, Kyle also commented on her current standing with Mauricio. We get along really well. We love and respect each other. We talk all the time. We want the best for each other. We spent Christmas together with the girls, and if you were a fly on a wall, you would see that it was making dinner or watching movies, playing games, doing karaoke. I feel very grateful that we are able to work through our separation like this, she explained. The actress said that their care toward each other isn't just for their 4 daughters' sake. Obviously, they're the main reason, but we genuinely care about each other, she added. There's no animosity. Unwritten pages. A new chapter for Kyle and Mauricio. Kyle Richards sat in the plush, velvet armchair of her Encino home, staring out of the large, arched windows that framed the panoramic view of her manicured garden. She could hear the faint sound of birds chirping, the sunlight bouncing off the leaves of the oak trees just outside, but for the first time, none of it felt comforting. The house, once filled with the chaos and warmth of family life, now felt empty, like a shell of memories too heavy to carry. The house was more than just a structure. It was where she had built her life with Mauricio, where they had raised their daughters, where every corner told the story of their shared history. The walls were silent witnesses to their laughter, their arguments, their quiet moments, and their loud celebrations. But now, as she sat there, it felt more like a reminder of everything that had changed. Over the last few months, the world had watched Kyle and Mauricio's relationship shift as the couple, once seen as the epitome of a glamorous, perfect family, announced their separation. It wasn't an easy decision, nor a sudden one. Their relationship had undergone significant evolution over time, but Kyle's heart still ached when she thought about the life they had shared here in this very home. A conversation that changed everything. The spark for their changing dynamics started much earlier, though. It began with a conversation, one that Kyle vividly recalled. It was during season 14, episode 10 of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, an episode that would later be remembered not for the drama on screen, but for the intimate, raw glimpse into Kyle's world. As the show aired, Kyle had nervously discussed her new reality without Mauricio. She talked about the difficulty of living in their family home now that they were no longer living as a couple. It had been a surreal experience, seeing the space they had once inhabited together now feel like a foreign landscape. "I don't know how to move forward from here," she had confessed on the show. At the time, Kyle wasn't sure where she stood with her relationship with Mauricio. There were no concrete plans, no divorces filed, and certainly no clear answers. But the question of their home, the foundation of their life together, weighed heavily on her mind. "We still haven't filed for divorce or anything," Kyle shared with a candidness that had shocked fans. "But we've had more conversations about what we should do. Should I still live where I'm living? Should we sell the house and each go buy 2 new homes? Or do we keep the house because it is such a special property and just each go our different ways?" The question hung in the air, more fragile than she'd hoped. The Encino home represented so much more than brick and mortar. It represented their shared history. But was it time to let go? Over the course of several months, Kyle and Mauricio had continued these conversations, not in public, but behind the scenes, sitting on the couches where they had once shared so many quiet moments, discussing what the future might hold for each of them. At first, they hadn't even considered parting ways with the house. But as the reality of their separation set in, the house had become a symbol of everything they had built together, and yet it no longer fit the picture they had once painted. A special property and a difficult decision. "We're discussing those things now," Kyle admitted in one of her updates during the RHOBH after show. "Before, we hadn't thought about it. But now, we're trying to decide if it makes sense to hold on to this place or to start fresh in separate spaces. It's hard. This home means so much to both of us." As she spoke these words, there was no anger in her voice, no bitterness. She didn't want a dramatic exit, a clean break. Instead, it was the opposite. She was unsure of what would make sense for both of them, but she knew that this chapter needed to close in a way that was healthy, respectful, and compassionate. "We've both been through so much in our marriage and this separation," she continued. "We want the best for each other. Even now, we're still able to laugh together, to get along, and to talk through what's next." Kyle's vulnerability as she discussed their future was palpable, and fans were quick to pick up on the depth of their shared care. The connection between Kyle and Mauricio may have changed in form, but there was no denying that it was still there. "I don't think there is a blueprint for exactly how this has to be done," Kyle reflected, her gaze distant. "Every relationship is different. I find myself being oddly protective and defensive of him because people want to say things about him, thinking it would make me happy. But it doesn't. You don't know our dynamic. We're good." In that moment, Kyle and Mauricio's future wasn't defined by a public narrative or a script. It was defined by what felt right to them. And right now, they still cared for each other, still respected one another. The family homes, more than just houses. Kyle and Mauricio had never been a couple defined by wealth alone, even though their fortune allowed them to enjoy the luxuries of multiple homes. The Encino property, though, had always been their anchor, a place that embodied the spirit of their family. In addition to the main residence, the couple owned 2 vacation homes, one in La Quinta and another in Aspen. The vacation properties had become a way for Kyle and Mauricio to escape the noise of the world, a place to recharge and reconnect. But despite the allure of these other homes, Kyle found herself reflecting on the home they'd made in Encino. This was the home where their daughters had grown up, where they had spent countless family celebrations. Kyle's recent decision to remain in Encino, while Mauricio rented an apartment, was a testament to how different things had become. She was holding on to the house, at least for now, as a way to keep some semblance of stability, especially for their children. But the discussions they were having were important. They were opening the door for a new future, one where they both could have their own spaces while still honoring the years they had spent together. Kyle acknowledged that the vacation homes might provide an alternative to the large family property, but there was something about the Encino home that held a unique place in her heart. A new era of friendship and understanding. Despite the upheaval in their personal lives, there was one thing that remained steadfast: their commitment to their daughters. Kyle and Mauricio had spent Christmas together in a way that surprised even their closest friends. "We spent Christmas together with the girls, and if you were a fly on the wall, you'd see that we were making dinner, watching movies, playing games, doing karaoke. It was simple, but it was special," Kyle recounted with a smile. This ability to come together, to celebrate without tension, was the result of years of respect and understanding. "It's not just about the girls," she explained. "We genuinely care about each other. We're not holding on to animosity. We've learned to navigate this separation in a way that honors the bond we've built."